Jones. He has re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs for a one-year deal, Josh. Now, we saw Thursday night, by the way, Ben Johnson's game plan, and I praised Ben Johnson on this show last week. Did not think it was great Thursday night. Wanted passing early when they finally decided to run the ball. Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery, the Lions took over that game, and me and you both said that Travis Kelce does not play. We're going to take Detroit. They ended up winning the game. Dropped or not by Kansas City, it happens. The Lions, it's a good victory for them. But Chris Jones and only a one-year deal. Are you surprised it's only a one-year deal? Because to me, this feels like the end of CJ in Kansas City at the end of this year.
You you were just talking about like how Detroit was able to, once they like started going to the run game, Detroit was able to do whatever they wanted essentially with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. So what this smells of to me is desperation. That's what it smells. It feels like complete and total desperation. They realized, they sat back and said, "Oh shit, we need to re-sign Chris Jones, and we need to do it now, because if we don't, we're not going to win the Super Bowl. We might not even get back to the Super Bowl." That's how important Chris Jones is. We know how, like, Patrick Mahomes is in his own separate universe. I get it. Although I will say Chris Collinsworth was like way too much into Patrick Mahomes on Thursday night. It was kind of annoying at times.
I'll tell you what, he was making some plays that it was like, really, he had to make that play. There was a lot of times Detroit had him bottled up and he was doing jump passes. I mean, the thing about Mahomes is, and I've always been amazed at this, he's not, and this is why some people actually prefer Joe Burrow or Herbert's throwing style to Mahomes, because Mahomes' footwork is terrible. It reminds me a lot of Rodgers sometimes. It's terrible. It's off platform. It's not in sync. Yet he has such an incredible arm ability and such an incredible window to use that sidearm and sling the ball that you're not expecting it from a defensive perspective. Some of the passes he makes is unbelievable, but he can be very sloppy with the football.
Yes, but overall, I just felt like Chris Collinsworth was like way too much fanboy, if you will, of Patrick Mahomes.
Sometimes you're in awe of a special quarterback, and when you don't have a special quarterback, and I like Jared Goff, and by the way, you said last week that you thought Jared Goff was going to struggle throughout the season. I did check the tape. You did say that.
Okay.
Jared Goff played great. I thought in the second half, made some big key throws. Jared Goff is a very good quarterback. And we are in this sort of space, I think, in the NFL right now, where, and I'm in this, where it's like we really prefer the mobile quarterback, the RPO game, the zone read, all the different arm angles, the deep. Like, we want our quarterbacks to do it all. Sometimes it's okay to have a simple guy back there like a Jared Goff, like what Matthew Stafford showed, like Joe Burrow, who is often a pocket guy, doesn't move around a ton, sit back there and just dot you up. And so it's all about the scheme. It's all about the structure.
Yeah.
I think Jared Goff and the Lions are going to have a really good year offensively. Their defense, I think, is going to be better. A lot like Kansas City. I was impressed by Kansas City's defense Thursday night. I will say that. I thought they played above average on what I was expecting, but I agree with you here. This Chris Jones signing is basically saying that we need you to go win the Super Bowl. I'm more surprised at the fact it's a one-year deal, that they did not get that long-term extension.
Yeah. Getting back to my original point, like we said, Mahomes is in his own universe or whatever. But outside of him, and I get like his connection with Travis Kelce. So you could make a solid argument Travis Kelce is the second most important player on the Chiefs. But I think if you wanted to argue the opposite and say Chris Jones is more valuable to the Chiefs than Travis Kelce, I think you would have a solid argument there. I really do. That's how valuable.
I think what we saw on Thursday night shows me that Kelce is more valuable than Chris Jones. I think if Kelsey's in that game, I think the Chiefs win it by 7 to 10 points. Because as we talked about on last week's show, the defensive strategy for the Lions, because the offensive strategy wasn't going to change that much. They were still going to run the ball. It may not have been as successful with Chris Jones in there, but they were still going to run the ball. The defensive strategy of, hey, we can go from we have to play cover two shell, we can't play man to man, to all of a sudden, we can play man to man against these unproven receivers. You know, your Kadarius Tonys, your Sky Moores, your Montez Motus Scantlings, your Watsons, your Noah Grays. We're not afraid of anybody beating us over the top. And Mahomes had to make some incredible throws just to get these guys open. And listen, every great receiver, as I said last week, or every good quarterback, needs a great receiver. So if you don't have Kelsey, the offense looks completely different. Where the defense, it may not be as good without Chris Jones, but scheme wise, it's not a different scheme.
And I get that, but like when Chris Jones is in there, you have to account for where he is. Like I feel like when he's in there, Steve Spagnuolo calls his defense differently. Like,
and I
you know
feel
what
like,
I mean?
and that may be true a little bit. I feel like Andy Reid calls the game vastly differently when Kelsey's not in there.
And no, I totally hear you on that. That's why I said, like, if you want to, you can make an argument either way for Travis Kelce or.
Well, there's our disagreement because I don't think there's an argument. I think Kelsey is the second most important player on the team. Because
I would
have,
to agree with you. I'm just saying if somebody were to make the argument in the opposite direction that Chris Jones is the more valuable player, they would have a valid case.
See,
That's
and
all I'm saying.
I don't think they do have a valid case because of, again, the importance of the offensive football and the rules, where the rules just favor the offense in today's football.
Okay, fair enough. Which I will say this. On my YouTube channel last week, I said the Chiefs were going to start the season 0-2 because I predicted they would lose against the Lions, and I predicted they're going to lose this week against the Jaguars.
So originally when the schedule came out, I had them going 1-1. I had them splitting the first two. I had them losing to Jacksonville. If Kelsey plays, which it sounds like he's going to on Sunday, I think it's close, but I do think Kansas City squeaks out a victory. I think that they will. And now, by the way, with Chris Jones back as well, you have Jones back, you have Kelsey back. I don't know if Jacksonville is ready for Kansas City. We're going to find out. I'm surprised they did not make this game a Sunday night or a Monday night. I'm very surprised it's in the 1 o'clock window, but we're going to get a good treat.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that this is in the 1 o'clock window, considering how Jacksonville took Kansas City right to the wire in the AFC divisional round last year in the playoffs, and a lot of fans and media members alike are putting Jacksonville in, maybe not that Cincinnati, Kansas City tier, but
they're right behind them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think one of us, I don't remember which one of us, but I think one of us said Jacksonville was a dark horse Super Bowl contender. I'd have to go back.
You did.
Okay. I couldn't remember. But even if Jacksonville loses to Kansas City, I still think they are. But it also depends on how they lose.